Welcome to the Medicine Buddha practice. My name is Thenphel Lhundrub, and I use he, they pronouns. And I am currently located on the ancestral lands of the Squaxin Island people in Washington State. I am not a Buddhist teacher in this facility. I'm just a member of the community who has volunteered to lead the practice today while Lama Rod is in retreat over in the UK for a little while. And he will be back very soon. If anybody is new to the practice, please introduce yourselves in the chat. And welcome. Thank you all for being here so much. Yeah, today is the 5th of May, and it's a very meaningful day for me because 7 years ago on May 5th, I had my last drink of alcohol after spending the majority of my life using substances. So 8 years ago, I stopped using narcotics, and 7 years ago, I was able to get sober, completely sober. What introduced me to practicing Buddha Dharma was actually my personal experiences in recovery circles. And last time I was able to facilitate this meeting, I mentioned a little bit about the similarities between some of the foundational aspects of recovery and Buddha Dharma and how they overlap. One of the foundational aspects of recovery is that there's 3 angles to a triangle of recovery, and those angles are recovery, unity, and service. And to recover from something means, by definition, to return to your natural state. Our natural state is the Buddha nature. So we see that recovery and Buddha overlap. And that the Dharma teaches us that all things are united. Nothing actually exists independently from everything else. So we see that recovery and unity overlap with Buddha and Dharma. And then the last aspect is service. And the last of the 3 jewels is Sangha. So to be of service to the Sangha created this undeniable overlap from my experience, where I was able to recognize that the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha was my recovery, unity, and service. And I was able to take refuge in the 3 jewels with Garchen Rinpoche. And through that, I was able to begin to live a much more meaningful and life of service to other people and myself, all beings without exception. It's a real huge honor to be here today with all of you. When I saw that May 5th was open for community-led practice, I was really excited because it's just such a meaningful part of my life to be able to come here and practice with y'all on Mondays, because I'm usually very exhausted from working at a low barrier homeless shelter, long hours on the weekends. I'm a manager there. And it's been a real doozy of a weekend. We had a memorial for a member of our community who was a giant amongst the harm reduction community. And we also had a very difficult overdose reversal last night. So this weekend and all weekends in a low barrier homeless shelter are a wonderful mixing pot of ingredients that I get to bring to Medicine Buddha every Monday and process with all of you. And I really, really love you all for it. So thank you all for being here and helping me live a much healthier life and process all of the harm and suffering that I get to experience on a weekly basis. One thing that I wanted to reiterate also is that the Buddha is really the truth of our hearts. So the Buddha really lives in our heart, and the Dharma is the truth. It is the truth. So to speak truth, to speak what unites us, and not to speak what divides us, is to speak Dharma, speak truth. And Sangha is really, all of us are like mirrors of each other, right? We're reflections of each other. So if we move through our body, from our heart to our throat to our head, we are moving from the Buddha into the Dharma and then into the Sangha, which is a really lovely way that I incorporated using the Medicine Buddha mantra in my personal practice. It's also the same thing with recovery. We're recovering our hearts from all of the harm and all of the pain and all of these systems of oppression that we have no choice but to participate in, and have a deep impact on every aspect of our character. We're recovering from that. And we are trying to speak this language that unites the people so that we can all get free, every single one of us. And if we can get our head clear, we really are of service, especially when there's so much turmoil and suffering and political instability and just harm in our personal lives. One of the best ways that we can actually be of service is to remain somewhat grounded and clear, and not add to any more of the destabilization and add to any more of the finger pointing and the neurosis and afflictions that people like to pass around, which I find contagious. So that's one of the ways that I like to be of service, is to just try to my best to speak Dharma and recover the truth of my heart, get in touch with the Buddha. One of the things I wanted to talk about too was that the first step of recovery processes is acceptance. It's just that we came to accept that we were powerless over things, and that our lives were unmanageable. And there's this link between acceptance and nonviolence that is undeniable from my experience. The deeper we accept things, the deeper we accept absolutely everything, the more we're releasing all of our attachments by simply accepting them. And this actually takes the foundational aspect in yoga of ahimsa, or nonviolence, and we can actually really apply it into our internal experience simply by practicing acceptance. And one of the things that unmanageable means is that we feel our suffering physically, mentally, and spiritually. And for me, physically, mentally, and spiritual suffering is no different than attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Our physical suffering is our attachments, our clinging. Our mental suffering is our resentments, our blame, and our spiritual suffering is our ignorance. So when we talk about the three poisons of attachment, ignorance, and aversion that turn the wheel of samsara, or the cycles of suffering and self-grasping, we're actually talking about the same thing that a lot of people talk about when they say the word unmanageable within recovery circles. So I didn't really see a difference between the first step of recovery and just recognizing that I actually was powerless over my own thoughts and emotions, and that my relationship to samsara is completely unmanageable. I don't have what it takes to liberate myself through free will out of these harmful patterns. And then the second step, which was that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Einstein defined sanity as doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And that actually ties into samsara also. Insanity and samsara are very similar by Einstein's definition here. And I was instructed to find this power greater than self. I would need to separate the infinite from the finite until I recognized the infinite inside of things. And I did that just by looking at everything until I could use my mind's eye to allow myself to get to like a molecular level and recognize the infinite energy inside of all atoms. So much energy that if you split them, it creates a horrible, horrible force that has been used as one of the most vicious and violent weapons throughout time, the atom bomb. That's how much energy, infinite energy, is actually inside of everything in the universe. So once you can recognize that infinite inside of all these finite forms, and you come to believe that it could potentially restore you to sanity, you're able to move to the third step where you surrender your will and your life to that power that is greater than yourself. And for me, that was like, I'm powerless over my own head, but there's this truth, the infinite truth, that potentially can get me out of my own way if I can just surrender my heart to that infinite truth. And that really, really showed forth when I was studying yoga, the yamas and niyamas, with the niyamas, tapas, like that, just coming to believe that I was powerless over my own thoughts and emotions was tapas. I had to keep reminding myself that with austerity every day, that I am powerless over my relationship with samsara. I am powerless over my relationship with suffering and self-grasping, because it's just such a huge part of my identity and everything that I think I know. And then that second step, separating the infinite from the finite, it really had to do a lot with the niyama of swatyaya, which was actually going on a deep internal journey until you find the Buddha nature within yourself, the infinite within yourself. And then the very last of the niyamas is Ishvara Pranayama, which means surrender to Ishvara, because that is the last one, is surrender. And there was no difference. I didn't see any difference between tapas, svatyaya, Ishvara Pranayama, and the first, second, and third step. And I also didn't see any difference between that and the first turning of the Dharma wheel, the second turning of the Dharma wheel, and the third turning of the Dharma wheel. So when I admitted that I was powerless over my relationship with self and thoughts and emotions, that was the truth of suffering. That was it. That is the truth of suffering. I am powerless over my relationship with self-grasping. It didn't have a difference for me. And then the second turning of the Dharma wheel, the truth of impermanence or emptiness, is that when we look at what is impermanent and we allow it to die and decompose, eventually we will be left with this recognition of what is infinite. And that was the truth of impermanence, the truth of emptiness that Shakyamuni Buddha taught on Vulture Flock Mountain while they were meditating and doing these agori practices with corpses and the funeral fires of Varanasi and the charnel grounds. And it all was these yogic meditative practices to recognize the infinite through observing death and impermanence. So there's no difference between the second step, the Dharma, and the truth of impermanence. And also the third turning of the Dharma wheel, the truth of samadhi, that comes just from release, from acceptance, from surrender to everything, because we've always been a part of everything. We've never been disconnected from it. We could never be disconnected from it. If we were disconnected from it, we would not exist. So this liberation is actually our natural state that we've always been in. We've just seduced ourselves into embracing the unmanageability of attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And I had this experience through my early recovery journey. And I also noticed like other things too that really can tie it together, that the first turning of the Dharma wheel, we all suffer. I'm powerless and unmanageable. That has a lot of overlap with Judaism. We don't have a homeland. We're just going to wander forever. And the way that we suffer is actually a way that we show our devotion to the infinite, right? So the first turning of the Dharma wheel and the first step was actually overlapping with Judaism. And then the second turning of the Dharma wheel and the second of the pranayamas, or the niyamas, and the Dharma overlapped with Christianity, that there was a power greater than self that could restore me to sanity, that there was this infinite force that could restore me to sanity. It was a savior. So I had this understanding that just like the infinite could save me, so could Jesus save so many people. And the third, surrender, I mean, that's what Islam means. It means to surrender to Allah, to surrender to God. So there was all this overlap between the three turnings of the Dharma wheel, the first three steps, and these Abrahamic religions, but there's also this overlap that they all kind of correspond with the aversions themselves. That the Buddha is the opposite of ignorance. It's the opposite of ignorance, and that the Dharma is the opposite of attachment. It's the opposite of being attached to our bodily identity and attached to all of these impermanent forms that house the infinite within them. And that the Sangha was actually reflective of aversion. Everything that I resent, everything that I'm mad at, mostly for most of my life, I've been pointing at other people for. So the reflections have always been actually a means for me to process my resentments. And the Dharma has always been a way for me to process my attachments. And the Buddha has always been a way for me to process my ignorance. And we can do that through the heart practices of transforming our relationship with aversion and blaming others into loving kindness, which transforms our experience mentally into mere like wisdom. And we can transform our attachments into compassion for all beings. For me, it's really easy to explain this from being a drug addict. If I see another person suffering from cravings, I automatically have compassion for that person because I know what that feels like. If I see somebody come into a recovery room for the first time, shaking or sweaty, I don't judge that person. I am that person. And actually, my experience with attachment and with craving is like a bottomless fountain that it provides me with limitless compassion for all beings just because of my insane relationship with craving and attachment that I've wrestled with my whole life. And then with forgiveness, if we are able to forgive ourselves and forgive others, our relationship with ignorance has the opportunity to transform into recognition of the infinite within all beings, ourselves included. And if we can maintain that recognition of the infinite within ourselves and all beings without exception, we are no longer experiencing the neurosis of ignorance. So we have nothing to be attached to, and without attachments, we don't have anything to be adverse to. So just through this recognition of the infinite within all beings, we are able to walk out of samsara, walk out of self-grasping, and we are able to actually get into a state that some people refer to as nirvana. If we spend too much time there, we will fall into the trap of blissful ignorance. So what we can do is we can just recharge ourselves and then come back into samsara, which is part of the bodhisattva vow, and we can actually be of service with compassion and recognition and forgiveness and loving kindness and mere like wisdom and all of this in our tool basket. And we're able to really show up for ourselves and show up for each other. And that's a blueprint and like a cliff note of how the ways that the mantra actually works. So while we're doing the mantra, if we move the mantra through our body from the syllables Bekenze in our head, and then Bekenze in our throat, and then Bekenze in our heart, Maha Bekenze in our heart, we're actually moving through this process. And as we move through this process, if we are just practicing acceptance of whatever we're experiencing as we are moving it, we are releasing that. And as we're releasing those obstructions, our relationship to aversion, attachment, and ignorance gets released, and it is allowed to grow and mature into these heart practices of loving kindness, compassion, and forgiveness, which will result in us experiencing the wisdoms of mere like wisdom, discernment, and non-dualistic recognition where we used to have ignorance. And this is the medicine. This is turning our relationship with suffering, turning our neurosis and our afflictions into the heart practices, resulting in the wisdom. That is the medicine. This is the nectar of our relationship with suffering. We are transforming our lead, our suffering, and our neurosis into gold, which is wisdom through love, by simply letting it go, accepting it, releasing it through nonviolence and non-dualistic recognition. It's a really beautiful practice, and it has drastically improved my life. And I will probably never go back to drugs or alcohol as long as I'm able to stay in recognition of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, which this practice really hits and removes the obstructions through the three syllables. So yeah, that is part of the way that I practice this, and it is my favorite part. My favorite part of medicine Buddha is that it allows me to recognize the infinite in all beings without exception, and it allows me to actually walk out of samsara and recharge in a state of non-attachment and non-dualistic recognition, so that I can actually show up for people. And that's really it. I would like to encourage everyone who wants to add a prayer to our prayer document to please do so, because we will eventually be reading prayers out loud for everyone who participates. And I'd like to encourage you all to zoom out and try to think of a much broader picture for the prayers to the best of your ability. I'd like to just encourage that for everybody. That is my talk. I am just really happy to be here with all of y'all, and I'm just gonna get into the practice now with everybody. I'm gonna just roll the mantra, and before we roll the mantra, there is a opening mantra that we do that Lama Rod owns. It's an original Lama Rod Owens original talk, or an original mantra that invites the medicine Buddha to come into our practice. And it also unites us with the many, many lineages of medicine Buddha, which are rich and numberless. Absolutely every single non-dual and tantric lineage in the world has a version of this practice, and each one of them have a story that goes with this practice. So the lore around it is incredibly rich, and it's just a really lovely thing. I'd like to encourage all of you to research it to the best of your abilities. And with that, let's just recite this mantra here that was written by Lama Rod. Om Menle Sangye Kino Soha. Om Menle Sangye Kino Soha. Om Menle Sangye Kino Soha. And with that, we're going to get into the main practice, which is the root mantra of the medicine Buddha practice in Tibetan. And that is pronounced Teata Om Be Kenze, Maha Be Kenze, Rata Sumugate Soha. And with that, we will just begin the recitations of rolling the mantra. I like to first do this for myself, to remove the obstructions for myself personally, and then I kind of let it unfold as I zoom out from my experience with self into the bigger picture. And I'd like to facilitate that with all of us today. So when we start rolling the mantra, just move it syllable, bekenze, from your head, bekenze into your throat, bekenze into your heart center, and then this, and then back up, bekenze from your heart, bekenze into your throat, maha bekenze into your head, and vice versa. Just keep moving it back and up. I think it's really important to start with yourself, because if we don't actually fill ourselves up, we don't have anything to share. So, with that being said, let's start rolling the mantra. O te aka om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, rasa sumugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa sumugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa somugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa somugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, ratsa somagate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa sumagate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, ratsa sumudgate soha. Now I'd like to encourage you all to bring to mind a person in your life whom has been helpful, as somebody whom you respect, and somebody whom you might even love, someone who you recognize that their relationship with suffering and the three poisons has caused suffering in their life. And one of the ways that we can support them is by bringing them to mind as we roll the mantra together. We can release what we're holding on to and experiencing in our head and in our throat and in our heart for them and as them. So each time we roll the mantra, just keep in mind that person as you move through your body with the syllables. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa sumudgate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa sumudgate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa sumudgate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, ma bekanze, rasa sumut gate soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. And at this time, I would like to encourage you all to bring to mind somebody whom you might find difficult, whose behavior is unskillful and causes maybe some aversion. Maybe not the most difficult person in your life, but somebody whom might be irritating or bothering you. And please just recognize that just as we all have a relationship with suffering, so too does this harmful person or irritating person have a relationship with suffering. And that is, in fact, the root of their problematic behavior and our own problematic behavior. So, with this difficult person in mind, let's continue with the practice. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ratsa Sumugate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha. And at this time, I'd like to encourage us all to zoom out from an individual experience and think about all of the people in the area that you live, the county, the city, the neighborhood, the whole entire state, wherever you may be. Think about how all beings, especially human beings, we all behave the way we do based off of our relationship with suffering. And just as we have this desire to be free, so do all other beings have a desire to be free from suffering. So, with our entire geographic area in mind, let's continue the practice. Teata Om Bekanze bekanze rasa sumut kate soha teata om bekanze ma bekanze rasa sumut kate soha teata om bekanze ma bekanze rasa sumut kate soha teata om bekanze ma bekanze rasa sumut kate soha teata om bekanze ma bekanze rasa sumut kate soha. Now, at this time, I would like to encourage us all to zoom out from our current geographic location and think about the entire world at large and how absolutely all beings without exception, plant, animal, human, we all have a desire to be free from suffering and to get our needs met. And just as we have a relationship with suffering, so do all other beings. So let us include the entire planet in our practice. Teata om bekanze maha bekanze rasa sumut gate soha teata om bekanze maha bekanze rasa sumut gate soha teata om bekanze maha bekanze rasa sumut gate soha teata om bekanze maha bekanze rasa sumut gate soha teata om bekanze maha bekanze rasa sumut gate soha. And at this time, I'd like to encourage us all to zoom out from the Earth and bring to mind the entire galaxy and maybe even the entire universe to the best of your ability. All planetary bodies, stars, the entire universe. And just recognize that just as we are inside of the universe, the entire universe is also inside of us. As we are a single drop of water in the ocean, we are also the entire ocean within a single drop of water. And while bringing to mind the entire universe and embodying it to the best of our ability, we will continue with the practice. Teata om bekanze maha bekanze rasa sumut gate soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Ma Bekanze Rasa Sumudgate Soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Ma Bekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Ma Bekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Mahabekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. And at this time, I would like to encourage you all to just take whatever hand you feel most comfortable with and touch the ground or the seat that you're in. Just really feel the earth and the floor and bring yourself back into the body to the best of your ability. Because I believe that the Buddha attained enlightenment after touching the earth because he actually came back from these massive experiences into his body, got grounded, and was able to communicate with the people about what he had experienced or what they had experienced. Please touch the ground or the chair, your seat. Really get in touch with your body. And we'll just recite a few more of those mantras before we get into the prayers. Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Rasa Sumut Gate Soha Teata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha. All right. That concludes the first portion of our practice. And I'd like to thank everybody for participating in it. We're going to get into this prayer document and read these prayers out loud. So if anybody has anything that they would like to add, just scroll down to the bottom and please type it up to the best of your ability. I'm gonna light a little bit of this medicine Buddha incense that I usually burn when I'm making my cat and dog food because that's what I usually burn it for. But it's good for all kinds of purposes, none of which are specific to feeding dogs and cats. I just like to try and transform their food into medicine to the best of my ability. And with that, I'm going to get into this prayer document. Prayers that I am and continue to become the very best mother I can be for R and myself. For the healing of my ancestry and lineages, for all the dear lives under my care, and that I do right by us all. For the dear people of Gaza, to have strength and courage and solace. For world leaders to end these genocides now. Prayers of gratitude and protection for Lama Rod and all the teachers, including FRM. Prayers for the well-being of all, and that I may recognize my true nature and be of benefit to all beings. Prayers that I can continue to benefit all sentient beings, even when it gets emotionally and psychologically taxing. May little Saul heal, and may all beings evolve. Prayers for all beings who are oppressed and struggling to get free of abusive relationships. Prayers for my father who passed last weekend, and for my mother as we grieve this immense loss. Prayers for Elle, who also passed last week. Prayers for M and her family in Gaza, for their safety and well-being. Prayers for myself. May I heal, and may my physical and mental symptoms ease. Prayers for my mom, for her health and healing. Prayers for protection for myself, my family, and my loved ones. May any harmful energies being sent our way be gently redirected back home or wherever they may do the least harm, away from us. Prayers that I can navigate my reconciliation with my estranged mother with wisdom and compassion for her, my father, and myself. Prayers for clarity and peace for myself, my family, and all beings without exception. Prayers for my sister N, that she may be released from all negativity. Prayers for myself as I navigate bodily changes and medical needs. Prayers for my sisters, that they may be whole and free. Prayers for all beings to be whole and free. Prayers for E, that she may experience perfect health of mind, body, and spirit, and that her upcoming biopsy be completely clear. May she be protected and be granted full healing and recovery. Prayers that the medicine of remembering our togetherness heals us swiftly and completely. Prayers for the great Mother Earth and the deepest gratitude for every atom that we all are. Prayers that all beings are well, loved, at ease, and completely liberated. Prayers for my heart and my life to be the medicine. Prayers for JB, AZ, as they continue to navigate new paths and ways of being. Prayers for discernment and trust. Prayers as I fight for the focus of my mind, while the planet's colonial forces seek to take it from me. Prayers for all beings in this struggle. Prayers to my beautiful mother, who also struggles with focus in her journey with Alzheimer's. Prayers to my brother. Prayers to all beloved beings living in Gaza and those who seek to protect them. Prayers for Lama Rod, for protection and ease. I pray with this community for health, for liberation of all beings, and for willingness to apply the medicine in my extremely complex life. Prayers for my brother Patrick and his healing from cancer. Prayers for peace and wisdom as I navigate my relationships. Prayers all of us who are caring for M in this difficult time can be blessed with knowledge, wisdom, support, and how to help us all heal and grow as a family so the burden can be lifted off this child. Prayers for all beings who are suffering now. May all beings be free from persecution. Prayers for this community, for Thenpel's continued health and recovery. Prayers for my upcoming move. May it be smooth and easy. May I be well positioned and grounded enough to do my work to help heal the world. Prayers and gratitude to Medicine Buddha for all the support, healing, generosity he selflessly shares. Prayers and deep bows to all of my guides, to the nature beings and plant medicines who support me and come to help me when I call out in pain and need. Thank you for healing me and for, perhaps more important, helping to empower me to heal myself. Prayers for myself to clear boundaries and limits, trust in myself and all the resources I need to grieve and rest. Prayers for M, prayers for my mom, prayers for my family and for my dad, and resourced ancestors to visit each of them and pierce their hearts with compassion and tenderness. Prayers for M and P for long, healthy lives. Prayers for A and her family as they come together. Prayers for the Filipino community in Vancouver. Prayers for H. Prayers for all people experiencing abuse, that we may recognize our inherent strength and expression to move and transform harms into medicine and care. Prayers for myself, my aversions wane and my attention awareness rest easefully with the medicine I am here to share, that what is needed will arrive and align. Prayers for B in surgery on Wednesday. May it be smooth and effective and quick, full recovery. Prayers to Honey, canine companion. Prayers for A, that she may metabolize her anger. Prayers for myself, that I can get employment and become financially independent again. Prayers for Gazans, that they know safety and freedom. Prayers for Sister Sarada and her work. Prayers for clarity and a path forward on my vocation. Prayers I find an appropriate, good paying job soon. Prayers for Billy, who suffers from Alzheimer's and an aging body. Prayers for Jerry, who looks after her so steadfastly. Prayers for everyone preparing for surgery next week. May they be completely protected and heal completely. Prayers for life transitions. Thank you, everybody. I think that's all of them. Oh, here's one at the bottom. Prayers for Billy, who suffers from Alzheimer's. Prayers for Jerry, who cares for her so steadfastly. I think that might be a repeat, but let's pray for it twice. With that being said, let's roll the mantra a few more times and keep in mind all of these prayers and just hold everything to the best of your ability and accept everything that inhibits us to do so, so that it might be released and it can return to its natural state, which is the Buddha nature. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ratsatso mudgate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ratsatsu mudgate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ratsatsu mudgate soha. Te ata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Bekanze, Ratsa Somut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Ratsa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Bekanze, Rasa Sumut Gate Soha. Teata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Ma Habe kanze Ratsa sumut kate so. Alrighty, everybody. I believe that concludes the medicine Buddha practice. And I just want to say again, thank you all so much for being here and being a part of this weekly practice. I rejoice in you all, and it's a real honor to be a part of this Sangha and this community. I'd like to thank you all for letting me be of service, and I'd like to dedicate the merit of these exercises to the benefit and liberation of all beings without exception. Om Swaha. And with that, I'm gonna take a little break from talking here. Thanks, everybody.